on to the next section of the podcast. We're actually going to take a little bit of a drift culture question, something that I saw on the internet that I thought was kind of interesting and a great topic to debate. And for this episode, we are going to go over, once I find it on the computer, Lone Star Drift posted on their Instagram. This is a little old now, but it's probably posted about 2 weeks ago now. And it was a car that, the best description I could give it was pretty much a monster truck. And it says, quote, "This is peak performance. You may not like it, but this is what it looks like. Change my mind." There was a lot of negativity to that, which I understand completely. I know you guys probably weren't big fans of it. But I think there was somewhat of an element to truth to it too. So there's a couple aspects to the debate. So I think the first part is, are you able to accomplish still style and performance at the same time, like keeping a competitive chassis while keeping it stylish?
I think there's always going to be some type of compromise when you're trying to keep your car stylish and perform well. Mm-hmm. Just with the level of competition these days, especially in Pro 1, it's going to be very hard to maintain that stylish look and have a very performing car competing against some of the top drivers in the world.
Okay, well, so let's not start at Pro 1 though. So let's go Pro Am. You still rocking low cars and?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Kit dragging in Pro Am.
Yes.
Dragging.
Exploding aero.
Draped
off
up,
of everything.
dripped out. Know what I'm talking about? Low.
Okay.
Swinging.
So why do I see so many monster trucks even in Pro-Am? Like, is it just?
Well, it's just like little league sports, you know. If you see Randy Moss out there with the gloves on catching footballs, and the little kid's gonna want the gloves, you know. And if you see LeBron James doing this, the little kid wants to do that. You're emulating where you want to be in the future now. So the people who are thinking, you know, FD is the pinnacle of competition drifting, my car needs to look like that. So they do that. But really in Pro-Am, what it's about is gaining consistency. Yeah. Not so much just all-out speed and savagery, but consistency. So you could win Pro-Am with a mid-pack speed car if you're consistently on the clips, consistently where you need to be. And another thing, you know, in Pro-Am is some of the drivers won't be that consistent. They'll be making corrections and things, and corrections slow you down. So if you can drive consistently, on throttle, you'll make up that speed difference and the lack of grip your car has with that. So, so knowing that that's possible, you know, when we were in Pro-Am with our buddy Garrett that, of course, we went into Pro 2 with, you know, his car wasn't the fastest car by any means. And then the guy who won Pro-Am, Jeff Donati, his car was one of the lower horsepower cars on grid. So you had those two guys, 1 and 2, with on paper what should have been slower cars, but they were on par. So it just shows. And Garrett's car was definitely very low to the ground, and it was on Kendas, which are notoriously not the grippiest tires you could be on. But we found out real quick what happens when you go up against somebody on grippy tires when you went against Dustin Mouse. So there's that. That car was fast. It was on Zestinos and it was still low, but the sticky tires definitely
they make a big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah. Dustin's car was faster with less power too.
Yeah, and also it wasn't completely blowing the tires off because it had way more power and torque than it needed. You know, it was just the right amount of power to sticky tire. And that's also another secret to making your Pro-Am car fast if it's low. If you want to make it grippy, you want to make it fast, put a better tire on it and don't overpower the car. Like 400 horsepower on a Zestino or a Velino or a Zena or any of those really like 200 treadwear tires, rocket ship. Just off that premise alone. The rest of it's just balance. So
suspension setup and stuff like that. But that takes homework, you know.
Yeah,
you
a little bit.
Research.
Honestly, it does take homework, but like I'll be real with you. Garrett's car never even saw an alignment rack. You know, we were like, it looks about 3 degrees of camber. Toe seems fine. We're good.
Does it clear the body kit?
Does it clear the body kit? Yeah, literally camber is set off. What does not blow these fenders apart? Like there was no science in that chassis. It was just like, okay, get it set and adjust to it. Yeah. And get comfortable. And I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, that's, you know, as the streets would say, no cap. That's what it was. It was an eyeball alignment setup with good parts and consistency.
There's actually, believe it or not, some ways to cheat about low cars or making a car look low, and Cory is an expert at this.
I wouldn't say I'm expert, but it works.
All right. Explain your secret to the world.
So, kind of back to the previous owner thing, he kind of showed me the light. The flares are mounted a little bit lower, and the body kit gives an illusion that the car is actually slammed. In reality, it's not.
What happened when you put stock coilovers on it with some lowering springs?
So, at Super D, unfortunately, I got into a little
a tussle.
Sandwich with some other cars and bent my BC coilover. So there's a local that came by with some stock struts on lowering springs. So I was desperate to drive, and I put these shocks and springs on the car, and it lowered my car like 2 and some inches. I literally had to take the other flares off because my wheels were about to explode the flares.
Yeah. So it's interesting, like your car is perfectly drivable on the road, and you're not going to be bottoming out on things.
Yeah, even when I slide off track, my arrow isn't always completely killing itself. And you can even add some like little splitters to act as like a skid plate, so it's not ripping your bumpers off.
Yeah, gotcha. So going into Pro 2, this is where I see the biggest. The most interesting, being media and FD and watching the different drivers try to control the newfound grip and the new tires that they have to deal with. And it really shows what drivers, I guess, set up their car and which drivers are actually just looking for the most grip possible. So
Right.
A lot of that makes for a lot of ugly cars, unfortunately. And we can go into what's ugly, what's not, and whatnot. But I thought you guys last year for Garrett's car did actually a really good job, especially making it look low, and stuff like that. But is it possible to be low and fast at the same time?
Yeah, for sure. I think we proved that last season. We in no way had the fastest car on grid. Brady Goble's car is a rocket ship. There's a couple other rocket ships out there, but our car was definitely in the top, upper echelon of quick cars. And there really was no real rocket science to do it, What it really came down to, the reason why the car was so low, is how much grip do you really need to run in Pro 2, right? A lot of people were struggling not because they had not enough grip, but because they had too much. And for the 255 wide tire and the power level we're at, a lot of people, I think, over-gripped up the cars, and they were really hard to maintain, hard to stretch drifts and link and things like that, and to keep the car balanced behind someone. So we actually lowered the car as a strategy to help alleviate some of that.
You were in low boost for 3 of the
Yeah,
rounds.
the car was low boost for 3 of the rounds. Actually, the first round, 2 of the rounds. First round, we just crashed and really early, and the car didn't really do much. Caught on fire. It was all bad. But we'll pick up in St. Louis. St. Louis, the car was on low boost. We actually, I put grip in the car in St. Louis, and I turned the boost up, and we went out and ran a lap, and it quartered a set of tires on one lap. And I was like, oh, no, can't do that. So we backed it back down to right around maybe 530 horsepower, and we pulled some grip out of it. And people always want to say, well, how did you pull grip out? We went up in tire pressure. We took toe out of the rear, and we made some shock adjustments and things like that. We played with sway bar a lot, too. Some rounds we actually disconnected the rear sway bar, run sway bars, front and rear people. But, yeah, we disconnected the rear sway bar at one point in time for one of the rounds. Rest of the time we were just softening it or stiffening it. But, yeah, we pulled grip out in St. Louis. And as far as the car's ride height, so people know, it's on Fuel 442, long stroke, custom valve, like bad boys. They were as low as they can go in the rear. I literally had the external reservoir sitting on the knuckle. Like, it couldn't go any lower. That was it. That's all I had. So, and you can see it in the videos. Like, it's dragging the back bumper, it's dragging the skirts, but it was still fast, And the secret was give your driver something that's comfortable to drive, because sometimes the fastest car is the car that is the easiest to drive. If you're making corrections and you're lifting and you're making steering corrections, the car is not fast because you're making the corrections. If you can drive it smooth on throttle and playing it the whole time, then it'll pick up. It won't be that lunge instantly fast, but it's momentum fast. And Garrett is a momentum driver. He can keep the car at speed. He knows how to get the car to accelerate. So you can focus on that. That's really the tactics you need, is to drive at speed, drive with momentum, and not make corrections. And that's what gets the speed in the car. And then as you progress into that, you can start dialing in more mechanical grip. But I feel like people coming out of Pro-Am dial in too much mechanical grip right out of the gate, and then they can't adjust to that coming from Pro-Am. Like if you weren't driving on Nexans or Achilles in Pro-Am, and you weren't driving on two-way shocks or long strokes, and you weren't driving on these high-clearance sway bars with all of these front and rear angle kits in Pro-Am, the curve is already so steep. You're really, like, the curve is too crazy. You'd be better off driving something closer to what you had in Pro-Am just with stickier tires on it and a little bit of grip dialed in. You would probably have a better outcome your first season in Pro 2 than you did just jumping in. Because most people don't get that much testing either, too.
Yeah.
To really,
when you're building a whole new car.
oh, yeah. I'll tell you right now, not much changed between Garrett's Pro-Am car to the Pro 2 car. Yeah, we put better shocks on it. We put the upgraded WiseFab kit on it, but it had WiseFab in Pro-Am. And it had the same PBM rear suspension in Pro-Am. We got tow control put on the back of it. And the big change was the tires and the spring rates. And even and the new the 14 chassis it had a little bit more engineering into it as far as like rigidity and stuff. But he still, like, we went out testing the first time. You know, obviously you were there. You were driving a camera car. He was miserable the first. He was hating that thing, hating it. Absolutely, he couldn't get it. He could not do donuts in the car. It wouldn't do donuts. It would just push and stall and bog, and you could tell he was getting frustrated with it. And just those, like, we didn't make our Pro-Am car was already pretty well built, so the jump to the Pro 2 car wasn't even that crazy, and it still took at least 2 full days of testing before he was starting to kind of like that car. And so yeah, don't do that to yourself. Don't put too much grip into the car right away. You know, come with something familiar, something you're comfortable chucking in and throwing, and you're smooth. And if you notice you're a little bit off the pace, you can always dial a little bit more grip into the car, go down in tire pressure and stuff. We ran so pretty much a secret of that car was, which really isn't much of a secret, but we ran super low, obviously. We ran a lot of toe in the rear, and we made a lot of rear bar adjustments and shock adjustments, and that was pretty much the gist of it. And we ran low tire pressure all season. So take that for what you will, especially if you got an S14 like we did. And the power level that we were kind of hovering between was anywhere between 500 and 600, and it really didn't get up into the sixes until Irwindale.
So I guess this progresses into, are you still able to be competitive in Pro 1 and sacrifice things like being low and stuff?
You could be kit low, like you could be super doof low. Actually, we were that in Pro-Am. Pro 2, sorry. We were kit low too as well. Like the car was actually low, but the kit was also low. But Pro 1, nah. Once you get to Pro 1, there's so much money on the line.
Yeah.
It's so competitive. Everybody's a savage in Pro 1 and stuff like that. You can't leave anything on the table anymore. You know, in Pro 2, you can leave a little bit of performance on the table and compromise a little bit and still keep the hot boy style. Dustin Miles is doing it, and, you know, and it helps to garnish some fans. You know, you're trying to get some notoriety, so you sticking true to that. You're more relatable. Pro 1, it's about the business. The cars are all savagely fast. I mean, even though you may be jumping from Pro 2 to Pro 1 and you may not feel that way, but you're going up against Chelsea Denofa. You're going up against Ryan Turk. You're going up against Frederick Oswald. At one of these rounds, you're going to get lined up against a savage, you know? And your car is going to have to be ready to put in the work to beat them, or you're wasting your time. And, yeah.
And it's amazing the difference in speed between Pro 1 and Pro 2.
Oh,
people don't realize that unless they actually go to an event.
Yeah.
And then you go through, you'll watch Pro 2 do their practice session, and then Pro 1 just comes out, and it's like, it's a totally different game changer. It's the speed and the smoke and the commitment these guys drive at. It's a totally different level.
Oh, they come out in practice, like Pro 1 practice, like everybody's coming out and they're still washy, like figuring out where to initiate at and doing this. And like Pro 2 practice, first round of the event, they come out in tandem on door. Like very first run, door. Matt Fields is like running your shit off. And you're like, oh crap, y'all ain't even warm up though. Like, hey, like I ain't even take the warm-up jerseys off. We already throwing windmill dunks out here. Okay.
Dean's first practice run is #1 qualified.
Yeah. Dean's first practice run out of the gate in any track is going to qualify with a 90-something. Like, so that's where they're at. So at that point, if you're trying to be hot boy low in Pro 1, I mean, they're not leaving nothing on the table no more. You're going to have to try to find your style somewhere else, and do some other things to kind of keep that car competitive as well as looking good. And like I said, you can't be kit low. Forrest Wayne, 2F Performance, Super Doof, that works. His S15 looks amazing. Yokoi's car actually wasn't that low, but the car looked great, and it still paid homage, of course, to the Japanese style because he's from Japan. But I thought that car looked amazing. So I think you can have your cake and eat it too. You just gonna work a little bit harder for it. Maybe you might have to go out and explore some other options as far as styling the car. But through ride height's probably not the way you wanna do it.
And another thing to think about for having a stylish car, which is hard in Pro 1, is there's a lot of sponsors that require full wraps of their choice, and that can make or break the style of your car. And you don't really have a choice if you want that money. So.
Yeah, Cory's going through it right now. He's released a livery for his car, and he wants all of his logos for sponsors matching, and his job actually sponsors him. His job's like, no, that logo needs to be white. He's like, but all my shit's gold. How you want white? That's just one random white sticker.
It's interesting, and it's a lot of things. It's something that people don't think about, especially when they talk about FD and how these cars look like monster trucks, and they don't. Well, some of them don't look very good. A lot of the chassis these guys drive is not their choice.
Yeah.
It's what brings in the money.
Oh yeah, go to SEMA, walk up to a booth, try to get a sponsorship. Like, hey, I have a '91 Nissan, and I want you to give me $30,000. They're like, oh yeah, I've always wanted my company on a '91 Nissan Stanza. Oh, it's a 240. Oh, my bad. They're looking at you like, cool. Yeah, and then, Federico walks up. I have a freaking Ferrari. You want your name on it? They're like, hell yeah, I want my name on a Ferrari. Yeah. What you need? So, yeah, that's something to think about when you're critiquing a lot of these pro cars, is that they're going to do what's going to net them the most revenue to continue to do what they're doing. I'll tell you right now, we got offers from wheel companies and sponsors and stuff, and you're like, oh, man, yeah, I want to get this wheel, and I'm going to powder coat it this color to match my scheme. And they're like, oh, no. Yeah, that wheel has to stay black, or it has to stay gunmetal or white, because those are the colors we offer. And, we don't want you out there on pink wheels when we don't offer pink wheels, my guy. Like, oh, crap. Shoot. So, yeah, a lot of this isn't left up to them. You're going to do, if you want to do this sport and you want to compete and you want to be an action sports star, you're going to have to make some compromises, unless you're paying for everything out of pocket, and you can do whatever you want. But if you want help, you're kind of at the mercy of what they're trying to promote. You got to promote what they're selling. So, I mean, yeah, if you can afford to foot that bill by yourself, then you paint your wheels whatever color you want. You could, hydro dip them dollar bill signs if you want, like whatever. I'm bowling.
You can pay the fee for 30 wheels and then all of the other stuff and expenses that goes with it. I mean, it even goes with like body kits.
Yep.
It limits a lot of the choices body kits can even run, just because of the availability and the need for multiple body kits. Because how often do you blow apart a body kit?
Definitely in Pro 2, it's a 4-round series. You need 2 kits, 2 sets of over fenders, and probably 2 sets of headlights and tail lights. At least. And then if you're in Pro 1, or if you're in Pro 2 and you're going to Pro 1, you need 3 or 4, because they're just disposable, and that's when they get in. Oh man, the guy's got a half-cut rear bumper, and so you can keep the urethane there. And it's like, dude, I mean, each one of them bumpers is $300. And you can, like, Garrett was tearing them joints off in practice left and right. If you're smart, you do what we did, and you find duct tape that is the same color as the vinyl wrap for your car, and that bumper gets duct taped back together. In the pictures, you like, dang, that thing is always looking fresh. Up close, you like, that thing is beat.
Dirk Stratton's white duct tape bumper
Yeah,
for
the
half
whole
of
back
the year.
bumper was white duct tape. Yeah, man. I learned that in Grand Am IMSA. They were like, yep, we paint the car the same color as the vinyl we can buy. So that way, as the fenders get messed up, we just grab a new patch of vinyl and go right over that messed up fender, and then put our sponsor logos right back over that vinyl. And unless you get 4 feet up on it, she looks pristine.
Yep.
So, you got to think about this. There's a lot of money flowing around the different places when you're deciding to do stuff like that. And you really at some point you gotta, all right, man, what's gonna keep me in this? Like, it's cool to stay true to the game and stay true to the streets and stuff like that, which is, that's where your heart is. Obviously, that's what you want to do. But at the same time, like, man, you're trying to go out and have fun and you want to compete. And if you want to be in it, sometimes you gotta find that happy medium. I think if you think it through, though, and you think ahead and you plan everything out, you can have your cake and eat it too, for the most part. You might compromise on that ride height a little bit, but I mean, like Cory said earlier, make your own splitter. Cory did it. He made it out of the same stuff you make cutting boards out of, the plastic. Yeah. Make your own splitter. Throw some canards on it. You can make it sit a little bit lower. And if you really plan everything out, you can definitely somewhat have your cake and eat it too.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I think that pretty much covers that topic pretty well. I mean, there's just so much to cover in this year, and I can't wait to get to all of it. But again, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. We will be putting out stuff every month, and hopefully even sooner. And I hope to see you guys listening to this stuff. And if you guys have any opinions, questions, comments, obviously put those in the comments section. If you disagree with everything Jelani says, like most people do, just go ahead and rip him apart. I'm sure he's used to it. So be sure to do that. And thanks again, guys, for watching. And hopefully I see you guys on the next show. Bye.